Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's story. I almost didn't post this. A subscriber, she asked me to keep her anonymous, sent me a voice note at 2 a.m.
crying.
What she told me shook me to my core. Grab your drink. Turn off the lights. Because this one is going to leave a mark. She had two men in love with her at the same time, and neither of them knew about the other. But here's the part that will stop your breath. They were best friends. Let that sit for a second.
Okay.
Let me tell you how this all started. The subscriber who sent me this story, I'll call her Maya. She was a student at this university. She witnessed everything, every single detail. And she said, please tell the story, because someone needs to hear it as a warning. So Maya, this one's for you. Dr. Victoria Lennox walked into that lecture hall like she owned the air inside it. 38 years old. Velvet blazer. Natural hair pinned perfectly. Gold hoops that caught the light every time she turned her head. She smelled like sandalwood and confidence. Every student in that room sat up straighter. She didn't introduce herself with her name. She walked to the board and wrote one sentence. All great literature begins with a secret. Then she turned around, smiled, and said, welcome to advanced literature. I am your professor. And by the end of the semester, you will understand that line better than you think. Nobody knew how deeply true that would become. Marcus Adeyemi was sitting in the third row. Dark skin, quiet eyes, the kind of man who listens more than he speaks. He had a notebook, not a laptop, filled with handwritten notes and poems nobody had ever read. He was brilliant. His professor from freshman year once said Marcus wrote with the weight of someone who has already lived 3 lives. He read that line on the board and felt something shift in his chest. All great literature begins with a secret. He wrote it down, underlined it twice. He had no idea he was about to become part of one. Darius Cole was sitting 2 rows behind him. His energy filled every room before his body did. He was the kind of man who made people smile without trying. Sharp jawline, easy laugh. He was studying literature because, as he always said, words are the only things that outlive us. Darius noticed Dr. Lennox immediately. He leaned over to Marcus after class and whispered, that professor is dangerous. Marcus just laughed. Stop it. Darius shook his head. I'm serious, bro. That kind of woman changes people. He was more right than he knew. The first few weeks were exactly what you'd expect from a respected academic institution. Lectures, essays, office hours. Dr. Victoria Lennox was professional, sharp, and deeply passionate about literature. She quoted Toni Morrison in the morning and James Baldwin by afternoon. Students loved her. Faculty respected her. Nobody knew she cried herself to sleep most nights. Her divorce had been finalized 18 months earlier. Quietly. No drama. Just 2 people who grew into strangers while living under the same roof. She had given 12 years to a man who spent the last 3 emotionally absent. She was fine. She told herself that every morning. She was fine. It was Marcus who broke through the wall first. He stayed after class one Tuesday to ask about a paper. The conversation shifted, as conversations with intellectuals tend to do, from the assignment to James Baldwin, to identity, to loneliness in literature. Before either of them realized it, 45 minutes had passed. Victoria, Dr. Lennox, caught herself laughing. Really laughing. She stopped. You should go, she said. You have other classes. Marcus gathered his things slowly. At the door, he paused. Dr. Lennox, your lectures make me feel like someone finally understands what I've been trying to say my whole life.
She didn't respond.
She waited until he was gone. Then she sat down, pressed her hand to her chest. That was just a compliment from a student. Nothing more. But something had cracked open. 2 weeks later, Darius Cole came to her office hours. He didn't bring an essay question. He brought her coffee. I noticed you always have an empty cup by 3 p.m., he said simply. I thought you might need a refill. She stared at the cup, then at him. Then she laughed, that same real laugh. Mr. Cole, that is entirely inappropriate. Yes, ma'am, he said. Smile not fading 1 degree. Should I take it back? She took the cup. She told herself that was just kindness, just a thoughtful student. She told herself a lot of things that semester. By the 6th week, Maya, our subscriber, noticed something the rest of the class hadn't. Dr. Lennox's eyes stayed on Marcus just a second too long when she read certain passages aloud. And when Darius answered questions in class, her voice softened in a way it didn't for anyone else. Maya told her roommate, "Something is happening in that classroom." Her roommate laughed. "You're dramatic." Maya was not dramatic. The semester was only halfway through. And Dr. Victoria Lennox, brilliant, composed, respected, was standing at the edge of a cliff. She just didn't know yet that two men were standing on the same cliff, at the same time, without knowing about each other. How does a woman this intelligent not see what was coming? Or did she see it and walk toward it anyway? That question is going to follow this entire story. And honestly, I think about it every time I read Maya's message. Speech balloon comment below. Have you ever noticed someone slowly crossing a line and said nothing? What would you have done?
She wasn't looking for love. She was looking for proof that she was still alive, and she found it twice, in the same classroom, from the same friendship circle. God help her. It started with Marcus. Not all at once. Nothing that matters ever happens all at once. It began in the pages of an essay he submitted on Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God. His writing was so personal, so vulnerable, that Victoria sat at her desk reading it 3 times. He wrote about watching his mother grieve quietly, about learning to carry pain with dignity, about the loneliness of being seen as strong when you're breaking inside. She wrote in the margin, "This is not an essay. This is a confession." Hey! He came to collect it from her office on a Friday afternoon. She was going to hand it to him at the door. She invited him inside instead. Maya doesn't know exactly what was said in that office, but she saw Marcus arrive at 4:30 p.m. She saw the office lights still on at 6:45 p.m. And when Marcus walked out, he looked different, like something heavy had been placed on him, and he didn't want to put it down. Victoria stayed in her office until after 8 p.m. that night. She sat at her desk and stared at the words she'd written in his essay margin. A confession. She had no idea how fitting that word would become. With Darius, it happened differently. Where Marcus was deep water, still, profound, pulling you under slowly, Darius was lightning, bright, sudden, impossible to ignore. It was a campus literary event, an open mic evening. Dr. Lennox attended as faculty support. She sat at the back, professional, composed. Darius performed a spoken word piece. He hadn't told her he was performing. He stood at that microphone and spoke about a woman who teaches words but cannot find the words for her own pain. The room didn't know who he meant. Victoria's hands went cold in her lap. He wasn't looking at her when he said it. He was looking at the floor. But at the last line, "I would learn every language in the world just to translate her silence." His eyes found hers. For exactly 3 seconds. She looked away first. She told herself this was admiration, artistic connection. Nothing inappropriate had happened. Nothing inappropriate had happened yet. By the 10th week of the semester, 2 separate realities existed. In one reality, Dr. Victoria Lennox was a respected professor, grading papers, attending faculty meetings, everything normal. In the other reality, hidden behind late office hours, after dark text messages sent from a second phone, and a Friday evening that stretched far past its appropriate end, she was someone else entirely. She was a woman who had started to feel again, and it terrified her. Here is what Maya told me, and I need you to hear this carefully. They were best friends, Marcus and Darius. They ate lunch together every day. They studied together. They talked about their futures together. And neither one of them ever mentioned her name to the other. Not once. Think about that. 2 men in love, or what felt like love, with the same woman, living in the same dorm building, sharing the same dream of graduating together, and carrying the same secret in complete silence. Because here's what Victoria had told each of them separately, in her own careful, literary way. This stays between us. What happens here stays here. And they believed her. Because she was their professor, because she was older, because she made them feel chosen. And there is nothing more powerful than making someone feel chosen. Marcus started writing differently. His essays became darker, more possessive in their themes. He wrote about fire that consumes, about doors that lock from the inside. Victoria graded his work with shaking hands and straight A's. Darius started showing up everywhere she was. Faculty events, campus bookstore, library third floor. Always a respectful distance. Always that smile. Always that look that said, I know something about you that nobody else in this room knows. She should have stopped it. She should have called it what it was. She should have. But here's what nobody tells you about loneliness. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for the right time. It doesn't care about your title, your reputation, or the 20 students who look up to you every Tuesday and Thursday morning. Loneliness just finds the nearest open window and walks right through. Maya noticed a second clue on a Wednesday morning. She was early to class. Dr. Lennox hadn't arrived yet. She saw Darius walk past the classroom door, then stop, look at something on his phone, smile that specific smile, the one Maya had only seen him use in one context. 3 minutes later, Dr. Lennox walked in. She was looking at her own phone, putting it away quickly. Their eyes met for half a second. Dr. Lennox walked to the podium. Darius sat down. Both of them were completely composed. But Maya had seen it. I knew right then, she told me. I just didn't know yet how bad it already was. And it was about to get so much worse. Because Marcus, quiet, deep-water Marcus, had also started to suspect something. Not about Victoria, about Darius. 2 best friends, 1 woman, and a secret that was growing teeth. Tell me in the comments, at what point do you think Victoria should have walked away? Because she had chances, multiple chances, and she chose every single one of them wrong. There's always a moment, one single moment, when everything that was hidden to sides is done hiding. And for Victoria Lennox, that moment came on a Thursday night, in her own apartment, with both men walking through the door within 12 minutes of each other. I need you to imagine this scene. Rain outside. The kind of heavy, relentless rain that makes the world feel sealed off from itself. Victoria's apartment building, off campus, 12 minutes by car from the university, a place she had chosen specifically because none of her students lived nearby. She thought she was safe there. She was not safe there. It had been building for weeks. Marcus had grown quieter, not in his usual, Stillwater way. Quieter in a way that means something is gathering beneath the surface. He'd started asking small questions that weren't actually small. Do you ever see students outside of university hours, Dr. Lennox? She'd answered smoothly. Not typically, no. He'd nodded, written something in that notebook of his. She'd watched the pen move and felt a cold thread pull through her stomach. Darius had grown bolder. He texted late. He pushed edges. He had started using her first name in private, Victoria, and the way he said it made her feel young and reckless and deeply stupid all at once. She had tried 3 times to end it with him. Each time, he'd said something that undid her completely. The last time she tried, he said simply, "You can end it, but tell me you don't feel anything, and I'll walk away forever." She couldn't say it. She didn't walk away. That Thursday, Marcus called her. He never called. They texted. Always text that could be explained away as academic communication, if ever questioned. But he called. "I need to see you," he said. His voice had something in it she hadn't heard before. Urgency or anger. She couldn't tell which. Marcus, that's not. Please. That word from a man who never begs. She said yes before she could stop herself. She told him to come at 8 p.m., that she would leave her building door unlocked. She hung up. Her phone buzzed immediately. "Darius, I'm in your neighborhood. Can I come? I need to talk to you tonight." Her heart stopped. She typed, "Not tonight." He typed back in 30 seconds. "Victoria, please, something is wrong. I need to see you." She sat with the phone in her hand for 2 full minutes. She typed, 1 hour, 7 p.m., leave by 7:45. This is a part of Maya's story where her voice cracked on the voice note. She said, "I was there because I lived in that building. 2nd floor." She was on the fourth. I'd seen Darius's car in that parking lot before. I recognized it. That night I saw it again. And then 30 minutes later, I saw Marcus walking up the path. Maya stood in her apartment hallway. She did not move. She just listened. Darius arrived at 7 p.m. They talked. It wasn't soft that night. He'd been hearing things, rumors floating at the edges of his world. Someone had seen a professor leaving a restaurant with a student late one night. The description was vague, but something had unsettled him. He looked at Victoria directly. Is there someone else? Darius. Is there someone else in your life right now? Someone I should know about? The room breathed. She said, You need to leave? Victoria. Please. Her voice broke on that word. Please go. He stood up slowly. He looked at her for a long time, the way you look at something you're memorizing because you already know it's leaving. Then he walked to the door. He opened it, and Marcus was standing on the other side. Nobody spoke. 3 people. 1 doorway. Rain behind everything. Marcus looked at Darius. Darius looked at Marcus. Then they both looked at Victoria. And in that 10-second silence, every secret, every late-night text, every chosen word and careful lie and stolen moment collapsed completely, like a building whose supports had been removed one by one over months. And this was simply the moment gravity finally noticed. Marcus said one word. Darius, not to Victoria. Not yet. To his best friend, Darius. What happened next? Maya heard through the ceiling. Not words, just the register of voices. The way a quiet voice is somehow more frightening than a raised one. The way a door sounds different when it's closed with controlled fury versus slammed in anger. Marcus's voice, low, precise, devastating. Victoria crying. Not quietly. Darius saying nothing for a long time. And then saying one thing, loud enough that Maya heard it clearly to the floor above. I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know. Then silence. Then a door. Then another door. Then just the rain. Victoria sat on her kitchen floor. Maya doesn't know that part, but I imagine it. And somehow, knowing everything I know about this woman from what Maya shared, I believe it. She sat on her kitchen floor in her velvet blazer, and the great literature professor, who had taught 100 essays on consequence and truth and the cost of secrets, finally understood what she had been teaching. From the inside, I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself when you answer. In that hallway, who do you feel the most pain for? Victoria? Marcus? Darius? Because here's what's breaking me. There are 3 victims in that doorway, and only one person responsible. Comment below. I want to know.
She walked into that lecture hall the following Tuesday morning. 32 students sat waiting, and somewhere in the 4th row, the seat that Marcus had occupied every single class for an entire semester was empty, and she already knew, it was over. The university moved quickly, not because they had proof at first, but because Marcus Adeyemi, who had never filed a single complaint in 4 years at this institution, walked into the dean's office on a Friday morning and sat down. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He placed a folder on the desk. Inside, printed text messages, dates, times, a documented pattern. He said, I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because someone should know the truth. Then he left. Victoria received the email at 11:47 a.m. Dr. Lennox, please report to the Office of Academic Affairs at your earliest convenience regarding a matter of faculty conduct. She read it twice. She set her phone face down on her desk. She had a class in 13 minutes. She taught it. Maya said she had never seen anything more haunting in her life. Watching Victoria stand at that podium, discussing Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, voice steady, chalk moving on the board, while her entire career dissolved on the other side of the building. She taught the full 90 minutes. She did not look at Marcus's empty seat once. Not once. Maya said, I think that was the bravest and most broken thing I've ever witnessed. The investigation was quiet. Universities protect their reputations like mothers protect children. Everything happened behind closed doors. No public announcement. No campus-wide email. Just a series of meetings a place leave of absence, and eventually a resignation letter dated 2 weeks after that Thursday night. Dr. Victoria Lennox would not finish the semester. Now here's the part of Maya's story that I wasn't expecting. Here's the twist. 3 days before Victoria resigned, Darius Cole came to her office one final time. The door was open. He stood in the frame, didn't come in. She looked up. He said, "I'm not here to make it worse. I just need to ask you one thing." She waited. Did any of it mean anything to you? Or were we just something to fill a space? She looked at him for a long time, and then she said, "You both meant everything to me. That was the problem. Not the answer, the problem. I didn't know how to hold that much feeling and stay who I was supposed to be." Darius nodded slowly. He looked around the office, at the books, the framed quotes, the desk covered in papers. "I hope you find a way to teach again someday," he said. "You were the best teacher I ever had." Then he left, and Victoria put her head on her desk, and for the first time since Thursday night, she let herself break completely. But here's the twist Maya saved for the end of her voice note, the part that made me stop walking when I heard it. Marcus and Darius didn't fall apart. They fractured badly, yes. For weeks, Maya said they didn't speak. Two men who'd eaten lunch together every day for 3 years, passing each other in hallways like strangers. But on graduation day, 4 months later, Maya saw them standing outside the auditorium, not talking much, just standing together, the way men who've been through fire sometimes do, not because everything is fine, but because some friendships are built from something older than betrayal. Marcus said something. Darius laughed. That real laugh of his, the one that filled rooms. They walked into graduation together, and Victoria Lennox wasn't there to see it. She had already left the city. Maya ended her voice note with this. "I think about her sometimes. I don't hate her. I don't think she was a monster. I think she was a lonely woman who made catastrophic choices and dressed them up in literary metaphor, so she didn't have to look at them directly. And the saddest part? She taught us all semester that every great secret destroys its keeper. She knew that. She knew it, and she still chose the secret." I've been sitting with Maya's story for 2 weeks before I posted this, because it's not a simple story. It's not bad woman ruins young man, and it's not victims get justice. It's messier than that. It's human in the worst and most complicated way. Victoria lost her career, her identity, the podium she'd built her entire self-worth on. Marcus lost a year of trust in the people he let closest. Darius lost his best friend for 4 months, and nearly for good. And all 3 of them lost something that can't be named easily. Something about the version of themselves they were before that Thursday night, before the rain, before the open door, before the walls talked. Literature has a word for this. Victoria would know it. It's called hamartia, the fatal flaw. The one mistake, rooted not in evil but in human weakness, that brings everything down. Hers wasn't ambition, wasn't cruelty. It was hunger. Hunger to be seen, to be felt, to matter to someone the way her words mattered to her students. And she fed that hunger in the worst possible way, with the wrong people, in the wrong place, at the wrong cost. So I want to leave you with this question tonight, and I want you to sit with it before you answer. Not for Marcus, not for Darius, for yourself. Is it possible to understand someone's pain and still hold them fully accountable for the damage they caused? Because I think that's the most honest question this story asks. Drop your answer below. This community handles the hard conversations better than anyone I know. I'll see you in the next story. Stay safe. And please, learn from other people's chapters before they become yours.